Hey guys, so Sarah Wells was kind enough to send me some products to review as part of a brand ambassadorship this month. And I actually got a chance to play with a new product that I was super excited about because I've never played with it before. And that was this freeze flat. So I'm a low supply mom. I have frozen a handful of bags over the last 3.5 years, but most of that was 3.5 years ago. It was a very small stash. I think at the height of it, there was 40 ounces of milk in my freezer. It was not much. So I never worried about anything like this. And it turns out I was missing out. So let me show you what happens when you freeze regular milk bags. And then I'll show you how this works and why I think it's actually really great. So when you're freezing regular milk bags, you can lay them flat, but even when they're laid flat, they're not going to freeze super flat. They kind of, this part is thicker than this part is thicker than this part. You get some air bubbles in here. If you try and freeze a kind bag, which these are the bags that I actually use and love, you can get these nice little air bubbles right here. And the problem with that is someplace that the bag can easily be punctured. And you did not do all the work of pumping to end up ripping your bag. That's always really disappointing when that happens. If you stand it up, what you get is these very thick clumps of milk that are kind of a pain in the butt to defrost, but you don't end up with quite as much vulnerability in the bag. So when my husband would pull these out of our freezer to defrost them, what would end up happening is they would take forever to defrost. If you put them in the fridge, they might still be frozen over a day later. If you put these in the bottle warmer, you're looking at 20 to 30 minutes. It's not really functional. So what the freeze flat is it's very, very simple. It's two pieces of plastic with rubber bands around it. You open it like a little book. You're going to put the milk bag in here when it's not frozen. Try and secure this. Just going to close this. And you would put it in the freezer like this. Obviously, this is not sitting level because that is a frozen bag, but it's just going to sit in the freezer like this. And if you have a single bag, it would be like this. They do make one that stacks too high if you're freezing more bags at a time. But the end product is super thin and flat. This is so much easier. There's no noticeable air bubbles here because everything has been very well distributed. It's very, very even, which means it's going to defrost a little bit faster and a little bit easier. And you're going to be able to fit more in your storage space because you're not going to have as many gaps. Look at what happens if you're trying to put bags like this together. That's a lot of space to lose. You can very easily fill your freezer with a lot of milk very fast. And the freeze flat helps you to store more at the same time. So I was a huge fan of it. But what I wanted to see is, could I use it on my favorite kind bags? And I could. So let me grab this. Let me show you. Here is what it looks like when you do a kind bag. They do have another type of freeze flat that looks like it's made specifically for the kind bags, but what I did was pop it in there and use a bottle ring at the bottom to help hold it level so that I had the level ends of the cap and the bottle ring, and it worked out just fine. Like I said, these were the bags that I actually really liked using, so the fact that it works for those was a huge plus. I was very pleasantly surprised by how nice things came out. Let's face it. I mean, this is obviously water. It's not milk. I'm 3.5 years postpartum. I do not make enough milk to have a milk bag frozen and probably won't for quite some time again. But what I really, really liked was how nice and neat it made it. It made it so easy to store. And then Sarah Wells reached out and asked if we could figure out how many milk bags would fit in their cold coolers. So what I did is I froze the motif bags that fit in. A lot of like the Medela and the Lancino, they really did not fit nicely in here. So I skipped those and I did the motif bags. And what you can see is we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we have this lovely one here that I pulled to show you, 11. It is a tight squeeze. However, that is a lot of milk. Those are 4 ounces in each bag. That would be a lot of milk. So this is an easy way to travel if you have a small quantity of milk to ship. It's going to be inside the cooler, sitting on top of an ice pack. There's very little air gaps in between here. So I would expect this to stay frozen really, really well. And then I checked the kind bag, which is not, doesn't freeze quite as nice and neat. It does look like you could fit one more here, but as I jammed them together, I was kind of worried that they were going to rip. So I would say you could fit 7 of these bags inside the cold gold. I would be very, very confident transporting the milk like this. The freeze flat really did make it so that the frozen bags fit nicely in here. I would not be worried about them being squished or punctured. So overall, I was really, really pleased with the freeze flat, and it is definitely something that if I was to have another baby, I would absolutely want to use this, even with a very small stash, because the bags were so much easier to work with. And I really like it. I would recommend this product for sure.